So, yeah, we're recording.
Do you want to put some of that in your bowl?
No, go ahead. Just leave it in there.
Okay.
I don't mind mixing weeds. Sometimes I like most of the time I like to smoke on like a pure strain, but sometimes I don't do it.
Every once in a while I'll do a big old mix of everything I got. But for the most part I like sticking to one at the time.
Now you know what? I switch it up all the fucking time, but I'm always getting like different strains and shit just to try them out. From our wonderful friends at that one place that we go to here that I don't know if I should say something yet about them, but I go to the same place every time. I know me, they know them. They know me, I know them. And I don't know, I dig it. They've got it's a great product all the time. Great prices. Can't beat them. I don't know. It's just
cool staff.
Cool staff. They're pretty new. They're younger than 5 years, I believe. Right?
When the hell did they legalize it out here?
It's been a while.
Were they med before they were rec?
I don't think so. No, I think their first year was like the first year I got here.
But when the hell did they legalize it then? I don't know.
Before that, I don't know. You're the one who lives out here. Yo, mama.
Where's my phone?
Where's your phone? Oh, we're gonna
Google. Okay, Google.
Okay, Google.
I said, okay, Google.
When technology attacks.
When did Colorado legalize recreational marijuana? Oh, fucking do it.
Yeah. That's what we're asking you to do. So we're gonna...
6 years.
It's been 6 years?
There's an article here posted in December of 18 saying it's been 5 years.
So fuck, I didn't get here much later than when they legalized.
Cannabis in Colorado Wikipedia. Colorado Amendment 64 was passed by voters on November 6, 2012. Led to legalization in January of 2014.
Oh, yeah, okay. I wonder if that would I don't know what to say. Okay. Oh yeah, I don't know if that would be a good topic. Like, I don't know if there's much to say about it. I'm sure there's a bunch to say about it.
About what?
It'd be interesting. I don't know. Might be interesting. Just that process and what happened, but it seems like I don't know. It seems like we've all heard it from those old hippies. Anything that we could possibly find on it would be something we've heard regurgitated in one form or another from somebody else.
As far as the process of legalization went.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
We need to get the edibles on the same level that California is. Just from what I've heard, California has some badass heavy-duty edibles.
Do they?
Where Colorado, at least as far as I've seen, just at a recreational store, a dosage, quote unquote, is 10 milligrams. So if you buy gummies or whatever, they're 10 milligrams each.
Right. Unless you have a card.
Right. And I have a friend who has a card, and he gave me, what was this, a 50 milligrams.
50 milligrams. Half a fucking candy bar.
No. This was a 500 milligram candy bar.
No, I mean...
Each square was 50 milligrams.
Like, no, that's what I mean. It's like one square was half of a regular, like a non-card holding thing. Half of one of those candy bars.
Yeah, because a normal
one
person...
square.
Like, one serving is usually 100 milligrams divided by 10 pieces.
Right.
So, yeah.
No. One serving is 10 milligrams.
Right. I'm saying one package
is 100 milligrams.
Is 100 milligrams.
Yes.
With 10 milligram servings.
Right.
Yeah.
And
where this was a chocolate bar that was 500 milligrams with 50 milligram servings.
I had one of those.
Oh, it was a good time.
Yeah. I didn't realize how fucked up I had gotten.
Like, I do edibles regularly. Like,
I don't.
I have roommates that don't smoke, and my apartment is supposed to be non-smoking.
Yeah.
So I tend to stick with vape, or I'll smoke in like the bathroom before I get a shower with the fan on.
I'll vape. Does wax work?
Wax, I'll do wax because it doesn't create as much odor. But
And it can be pleasanter.
Yeah, they're not as funky usually.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I vape and I do edibles at home.
Well, if you guys couldn't guess, this is, after our third attempt at this, the Higher Minds podcast.
This is Scott and Papa Darby.
Yep. Hey, what's up? Scott Shackelford. We had a tiny segment on the origins of Shackelford in the last episode. You might check it out.
We did. If you missed that one, near the beginning, so you ain't even gotta listen to the whole damn thing.
But you should. You'll like it. It's cool.
You'll get hooked in.
Yeah.
We were stoned as shit on that one. We could not stay on topic on that last one.
I'm not sure we have much hope for this one, but that's okay. It's about getting stoned and talking about shit.
That's the whole fucking point of the show.
Yeah.
Smoke it up, talk shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose bowl are we smoking this one out of?
Well, I cleared mine out.
Did you? All right. You want to pack one?
We're not limited to one.
I mean, I still got a little bit here.
Oh, that's Snow Dog?
Yeah, I got a little bit of leftover Snow Dog. Snow Dog is some good shit.
It is. What's this shit?
This one is
the weed of the day.
Blueberry Headband. This one's a hybrid. Usually we do sativas, but we're switching it up a little bit, going hybrid this time.
Yeah.
THC content of 22.3%.
Nice.
Up to 0.02% CBD. This is the first one we've had that even has a chance of any CBD that we've had on the show.
Oh, so this might make us feel better.
Might. I got a little bit of back issue from slipping on ice earlier at work.
You got a back issue?
Yeah. I came real close to eating shit on the ice at work earlier today. For those unaware, we are here in Colorado, and we had ourselves a little blizzard yesterday. It was snowing fucking sideways. I read an article this morning about wind speeds. Here in Loveland, we had a wind speed recorded of 55 miles an hour.
God damn.
At the Colorado Springs Airport down south, they had a recorded wind speed of 98 miles an hour.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that except for that's almost hurricane, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy here yesterday.
Is that hurricane? Is that hurricane level?
I think somebody had said it was similar to a F2, I think is what somebody was saying.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
That's not a big hurricane, but it's still a fucking hurricane.
Oh, in the middle of the fucking mountains. That's fucking weird.
Not really the middle of the mountains. That's still the front range.
Well, close enough.
Yeah, it hit all the way from, I think, Laramie up in Wyoming, all the way down toward the Springs.
Well, that's most of Colorado.
Yeah, it hit the entire front range.
Wow.
There was I read there was 100-car pileup on I-25 yesterday.
Yeah, you told me that. That's insane. That's I've missed the news the last couple of days, and I don't know why. If it's been on the news, I'm sure it has, but I haven't caught it. And it sounds like something we catch national news. Where's the fucking ball?
I got it. We got to talking, and I got to hogging the ball.
Yeah.
I haven't yet.
But I drove in from Kansas today, and there was all sorts of crazy closed roads. It was it redirected me to Nebraska, so I had to get.
Oh, you went all the way up to fucking Nebraska?
Well, I mean, it kind of worked out, like the same distance ish.
I guess you avoid Denver traffic that way.
Well, yeah. Instead of going west and north, I go north and west.
All right.
It's the same thing, more or less.
Would you run up to 80 then, and then down?
I don't know exactly how I got to 34.
Okay. You ran 34 across then. How's that?
Yeah.
I've never driven 34 across.
It was.
There's a lot of nothing out east.
Yeah, it's out east. It's a lot of plains. It's pretty in its own right, but it's not the massive sensory intake that the Rockies are every day.
Right.
Which are cool. They don't get old. I'm still in awe every time I see a good shot of it.
Every once in a while when the sun's hitting them just right or whatever, it's like, God damn, I fucking live here.
Yeah. I'm not here full time anymore, but when I was, it was just living to get out there. Anyway, that's what we want to talk about today.
What is the topic of the day?
Topic today is extra dimensions and extra dimensional thinking. So the first thing I would like to do is I want to cite it. I want to tell you where I got this information. So some of this is from Wikipedia, but a large majority of this is from. Looking for my notes.
Fucking get organized, dude.
Here it is. No,
Pretend we've done this before.
Oh, we have? Have we done this?
Fucking Darby.
Oh, I keep on skimming the page. It's like, why is it stuck to each other? Anyway, so a large portion of this information is gleaned from YouTube, and in particular from a man named Rob Bryant. And I don't know exactly what he does and what his credentials are, but as far as I'm concerned, he explains what extra dimensions are on YouTube. That's what he does.
Is this the guy who did the video that you sent me the link to that initiated this?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if that alone are his credits, then I say he's a swell guy. I don't know anything else about him. I didn't look into him because there's so much fucking information that there is to unpack from this video on YouTube. Can we link it? I need to figure out how to link it.
We can probably throw a link up on various social medias, Facebook, Twitter, whatever.
But so there's a short version. There's like a 10-minute version that gives you a brief overview of each dimension, and there's an hour and a 10-minute version that like really serious. It's like a seminar on it. It's very interesting, and if you like this kind of topic, fucking watch it. It takes some pausing occasionally and digesting and trying to figure it out. And what I'm going to cover is mostly comes from that 10-minute version, which we'll be able to expand into.
The title of that 10-minute version he's talking about, just in case you want to search this, is How to Imagine the 10th Dimension.
Yeah.
It looks like there are dashes in between each of those words. I don't know if you need those when you're searching or not.
No, you don't. I've searched it. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, so if you just jump on YouTube and How to Imagine the 10th Dimension, it's bound to come up.
Yeah. So
how do you imagine the 10th dimension?
Well, I'm going to start kind of seemingly basic, but there's a couple of concepts that really need to be grasped in order to understand what's happening in the higher dimensions that we don't experience ourselves, and how the mechanics of those work. And so it's going to seem like I start off pretty elementary, but it's necessary to build upon.
Well, that's how that video went to. It started off basic, and before too long, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, you didn't watch the long one, right?
No, I only watched the short one, and I was stoned as shit when I watched the short one. So it was that much better.
So I hope I'm able to explain them pretty well. I think I can. I think I have a pretty decent grasp on what's going on, and there are some actual relevant pop culture references that I'm going to reference too.
Okay.
Movies and whatnot. That if you haven't seen them, you should check out all of them. They're pretty good. So the first dimension. Do we know what the first dimension is? First dimension is just a point in a space. And that's it. So in order to move to the second dimension, you have to have another point outside of that point, and then connect those 2 points, and you get a line. A point is 0 dimensions. So the line, that's the first dimension. That has no length, no width, just length, no width or height. So that's the first dimension. You take another point outside of those 2 points, outside of the first dimension, or that, and connect those. Then you get a plane, which is the second dimension. It's impossibly flat. It has length and width, but no height. So hypothetically, it is impossible. Clearly. Now, right here at the second dimension is where things get fucking weird, or it can get weird. There's the idea. I looked this up. This idea by Edwin Abbott of a race of beings called Flatlanders. Do you remember this?
I do.
The possibly flat beings who explore or who experience their world as just a series of dots and dashes, and those are the other objects that are occupying the flatland space, the two-dimensional space.
Right.
So the example he gives is, imagine a balloon passing through their space, a three-dimensional balloon passing through their space. How it would appear to the Flatlander, assuming that the balloon goes from outside of its space and through its space and out on through outside, completely outside of space. It first appears as a dot, and then an object that expands and then contracts into another dot and then pops out of existence.
Right.
And that's the only thing it would see.
The easiest way to explain this visually is to think of like an MRI or a CAT scan. How it looks at everything in layers. If you look at an MRI of a brain, per se, you don't see the entire brain. You see a layer of the brain as the quote-unquote camera pans down through it.
Yeah. Or do you remember that exhibit bodies of the Japanese?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. Or like that, too. That's another. Those aren't two dimensions because they're not impossibly flat. They do have height.
Right.
But
that's
how the world
easier way for you to wrap your mind around how the hell a 2D world would look.
Right. And so, to further expand upon that, imagine that a piece of paper, any piece of paper, is impossibly flat, but still there. And imagine a bug, an ant or so, walking on that piece of paper. Essentially, that ant would be a Flatlander who doesn't experience anything outside of that piece of paper.
Right.
And so, if you were to take that piece of paper, that two-dimensional plane, and fold it upon itself, it could turn it would appear from one side, or disappear from one side, and immediately appear on another completely different part of that two-dimensional plane, as if by magic.
It would walk off one edge and instantly appear on the other edge.
Exactly. And that's all that would exist in that world.
Right.
And so
to the ant, it would just feel like it was on a 2D plane still.
Yes.
Because it is witnessing it first person. It's just walking a straight line and somehow ended up right back where it started.
Exactly.
But us being in the third dimension, we can see that it did in fact circle the rolled up piece of paper.
And that's because we're in the third dimension, and what you did was fold the two-dimensional plane through the third dimension. That's an important concept to get right now. You folded that two-dimensional plane through the third dimension in order to create what is commonly known as a wormhole.
Right. And this is going to come into play again later as we get further and further into the dimensions.
And just understanding what's physically happening informs your understanding later on when you get in the 7th and 8th dimensions. Because it's kind of weird to once you get to that point, it's kind of weird to try to understand like how you get from one point in the dimension to another.
Right.
And it essentially works the same way every single time. You're folding through the higher dimension to get to another point.
I feel like we may have tackled this topic. Damn, that was hard to say. Tackled this topic very differently. Because when we were talking dimensions and shit, my brain went to multiverse. And that.
We get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that.
All right. Yeah.
That is there.
Okay.
I'm just starting from the most basic in order to have a better understanding.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I jumped right off the end of this one into multiverse and time travel and shit like that.
Yes, we'll get there pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought maybe I was on a completely different subject than you for a second.
No, not at all. But we just have to understand what we are experiencing in order to put ourselves in the place of a time traveler or a universe jumper.
Okay. So we'll be done with this probably not as interesting part of this.
Oh, what? This is awesome! I love this shit. Anyway.
All right. Anyways, third dimension.
Third dimension is if you have a point outside of that second dimension that's completely outside of that second dimension. You can connect all of those points.
Slow down. I know you just drank a big old cup of coffee. Bring it down a little bit.
So, imagine that there is a point outside of that second dimension that you've already created, and if you connect the points within that second dimension to that other point outside of that second dimension, you get the third dimension that has length, width, and height. That is what we're most commonly commonly familiar with because we live in 3D.
Yeah, we exist in the third dimension.
Well,
we exist in all, but
my hypothesis is that we exist in the fourth dimension, looking down from the fourth into the third, because we can fully see the third, but we also experience the fourth. Now
we understand the fourth. We can't yet control the fourth.
Yes. Being structured as we are, I'm not sure. Well, no, I guess through technology it might be possible to warp. Like I said, a wormhole.
I think if you can take a two-dimensional flatlander, roll them into the third dimension, like we were just talking about, it is therefore possible to take a three-dimensional lander and roll them into the fourth dimension.
Well, think of this, though. We can't actually do that.
Theoretically, it's possible.
There's nothing
for each dimension to be able to enter the following dimension.
There is nothing that we experience in the second or first dimension. There's nothing that we know of that is possibly flat.
We can understand the first and second.
Sure, we can understand it all we want. We can understand the fourth. But to actually manipulate, we've never been able to manipulate any dimensions at all, other than the third.
Right, because we exist in the third.
Yeah.
I think we're agreeing, but from different angles.
Well, I don't think we'll ever be able to manipulate the fourth dimension. I don't think we'll be able to manipulate any dimensions other than our own.
I think eventually we will develop the technology to enter the fourth dimension.
That in itself creates all sorts of physical paradoxes.
Let's the fourth dimension is time, just for those listening who aren't familiar yet.
Kind of, we can deconstruct that a little bit further, but for all intents and purposes, time is easiest.
Right. So what we're talking about when we say entering the fourth dimension, we're talking about time travel.
Yes.
Which, if you could fold the third dimension the way we were hypothetically folding the second dimension, you would be able to jump from one point in time to another.
Well, okay, so actually what you're saying is
you'd be jumping from a third dimension to a third dimension.
Yeah.
But you'd be cutting out the travel part of that.
Yes, you'd end up in another space in three dimensions.
You wouldn't end up in another.
Yeah, you wouldn't end up in another space of time.
Yeah.
With
you wouldn't have to physically travel to that other space.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Wormhole.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to control that. So yes, maybe, possibly, technically, we might be able to do that, but I don't know.
Damn, it'd have been sweet if we could have got DeLorean Motor Car Company to sponsor this episode.
Oh, maybe they did. No, they didn't.
Maybe they did. We just don't know yet.
Oh.
Maybe they will have
when will they?
done already.
It might not be relevant. So anyway, that moves us to the fourth dimension, which is okay. So imagine if you're meeting somebody, you need to know what street corner, length and width, what floor, height, and then at what time. 4 dimensions. Mm-hmm. So imagine. Okay, first, second, third dimension, they're physical. There's no reason to think that fourth and higher dimensions aren't physical. It's just that we're not able to experience them. We, in a way, do experience time, but in just one direction.
Right.
Now, there's
one direction at one pace.
Yes.
Unless you're an astronaut.
Well, yeah. So there's gravitational warping.
Speeds, which somehow warp time, and I don't.
It's not about speed.
It's beyond my. Well, the closer you get to the speed of light,
yes,
but something happens.
They don't get anywhere close to the speed of light. What it is gravitational warping. That also. So there's the reason that space-time is called space-time is because they are, you can't separate them. Time is the measurement of change in space. That's a very, like, 101 explanation of space-time, but trust me, they're hard to extricate mathematically. Anyway, or impossible to. So gravity warps space, which means it also warps time. So Einstein's theories or equations
or string theory.
No, Einstein didn't have anything to do with string theory.
No?
He tried to. No, he didn't have anything to do with string theory. But he did general relativity, which is used today to readjust GPS and modern technology due to that gravitational warping because of the time delay between the two objects. So it's a real thing that we use all the time.
I had seen or read something, this is a while ago, that said that the theory of relativity isn't accurate, but it's as accurate as we can get. It's not there, but it's the best we got.
I mean, it's proven to predict many things that at one point seemed impossible.
Yeah.
It's helped us with space travel, the limited space travel that we've done. Like I said, with the GPS, with being able to map what we can see of our universe. Einstein has predicted a lot of other things. I believe that Einstein predicted black holes. I think he was the first one to that. I might be wrong about that. But yeah, that's proven to be true. So I don't know about not being accurate. It seems to be working out, at least in the macro.
Yeah.
Like you get a string theory and quantum mechanics and stuff, it doesn't work anymore.
Maybe that's what I had read or seen or something like that it didn't line up with string theory or something.
No, well, not in the way that anybody feels comfortable with.
It's been forever since I don't even remember if it was an article I'd read or a video I'd watched. But it was, it wasn't, string theory had proven it to not work, at least to some degree, but they couldn't come up with anything better. So they still use it for reasons.
So, yeah, it's just, so the physics of how objects interact with each other on the small end is, we've got nothing better than general relativity in the way that we see how things react every day.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's the best we got at the small level so far. They're working on that because there is something, but we just don't know it yet. Anyway, we were on four dimensions. Now, I'm going to reference a couple of movies, and if you haven't seen these, you have to see them. I think you've seen them, but for our 6 listeners now, Ms. Kunis, you need to watch these. I'm pretty sure you've seen these though. Donnie Darko. Have you ever seen Donnie Darko?
Saw it once in high school. Didn't care for it.
He didn't care for it. I fucking loved it. I very, very much love it. And for one main reason. And that's because it does a very good visual representation of what the fourth dimension would look like if we could see it. So, in the movie there is a
weird rabbit guy.
Well, there's Frank the bunny. He's fucking weird. But there's a portion in the movie, and it's a short portion, where this not invisible, but translucent, not translucent either, see-through fucking like weird water snake starts coming out of his chest, and leads him to the path of where he's going to go. And that representation of the like tube-like thing that comes out of his chest that shows him where he's about to go is a representation of the fourth dimension. And what's that?
Trying to think. Seems like it was a female character is looking at multiple versions of herself in a giant circle.
Oh,
what the fuck was that?
Oh,
where
shit.
like she would snap or whatever, and it would circle all the way back to her. What the fuck was that movie?
Oh, that was just recent too.
Yeah, it seems like it was relatively new.
Oh, think on that.
Man, that's gonna bother me. There's somebody listening to this is like, oh, that's this fucking movie, you dumbass. Fucking stoned.
I am stoned. I'm pretty stoned. But anyway, to picture yourself and what you look like in four dimensions, there's a couple of other ways to picture it. So one that I thought of that I haven't heard before, which doesn't really fit what is actually going on, but it kind of looks like a movie reel. Being able to see everything that happens in every single frame for your entire life, like all at once. There's also the idea that you, from birth to death, and everything that you do in between, all connects and all forms like a long undulating snake that ends at the two extremes of your life. So that would interact with everything else as well. So that's what four dimensions would look like.
Okay.
Now, now you're at a point in four dimensions where you're looking for the fifth. So, but if you encompass everything that's, all the length, width, height, and time that's in the universe, there's hardly anywhere else to go. Except for another universe.
Right.
And that is when you enter five dimensions. And this is where shit gets weird. My favorite representation of this is, in movie form, is the movie The One with Jet Li.
Well, I haven't seen that one forever.
Have you seen that one, though?
I have. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. So, basically, the movie itself is... What's the movie about? Do you remember?
I don't.
Okay.
It's Jet Li, so he's kicking somebody's ass, though.
Yeah. That happens a lot. So, the idea is that there are multiple... Well, there's an infinite amount of universes. And in every universe, there is at least one slight thing changed.
Mm-hmm.
And these universes come in every single different variation there could possibly be. And you could be represented very similarly or very differently in this infinite amount of universes. You might not exist in some. There might be not life in any, or it just could be completely different for some reason or another.
One that I liked that did that one was Future Man. Have you seen that one? It's a show on Hulu.
Oh, okay. So
has people from the Hunger Games in it.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job.
From Happy Endings.
Yeah. Yeah, let me get into that in a second because they do a really good job. I forgot about that one. That's a really good one. So, but anyway, so in the movie, The One, Jet Li goes around and he tries to kill the different versions of himself because it's kind of like Extra Dimensions meets Highlander. The more that he kills himself in other universes, the stronger he gets.
Damn, I haven't seen Highlander in forever too.
I just watched it recently and it doesn't hold up.
No,
I try to watch it with my kids, which might be a little not great at parenting, but but it's just not. It was hard to sit through.
Really,
especially with some bitchin' millennials, like they didn't like it. Yeah. I remember loving that movie. They didn't, but you know what?
I bet I was a little kid last time I saw Highlander.
Did you like it though?
I did. It's fucking people chopping each other's heads off. What not to like?
In the first fucking scene, it's him in a garage chopping some motherfuckers off.
Mm-hmm.
That bitch deserved it though. Anyway, I'm hitting a bolt. Excuse me. So that's five dimensions, and the idea has recently.
Ashtray, please.
Become more widely accepted.
How do you mean?
Like in pop culture.
Okay.
With things like with I think with nerd culture becoming popular and basically just because of that, science itself has gotten a boost. And so things like that get the ear of media outlets, and that's one particular idea that's super interesting. and it's just for some reason it's gained popularity. It's not necessarily a new idea, but it's newly popular. Anyway,
Do you have anything left in your grinder over there?
Do I have anything left in my grinder?
Crumbs.
I have a bunch in here.
Sweet. Castile pinch?
You can have as much as you need.
Thank you.
I say share your weed freely. People out there in right now SoundCloud land. Anyway, so that's 5 dimensions.
This is where it started to lose me in the video.
Yeah.
Right about here.
You know what? Actually, at this point, I want to go back to your Future Man scenario.
Yeah.
So, what's happening is they're folding the 4th dimension through the 5th dimension and creating other alternate universes all within the 5th dimension.
Right. To better visualize this one, think of a tree with different branches coming off of it. Every timeline in the show has the same roots, but it's different branches at different points in time off of it.
Right. They're going back and they're starting different nodes.
Exactly. Yeah. Every time they go back in time, they start a new universe, essentially.
The old universe continues with
with the new one.
Yeah, with exactly. Whatever happened, just like it was happening to begin with.
Right.
So but there's just one strange thing changed.
Hypothetically, if you were to jump back in time to save your friend's life, you would save your friend's life in that universe,
in that
new dimension. Universe. But the one that you came from, your friend is still dead.
Yeah. And so it was kind of. I was actually really shocked at how brilliantly they did that in Future Man.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good.
Like, the first season of Future Man was great. Second season, they spent way too much time in one time in the second season, I thought.
I liked the beginning of the first season and the end of the second.
Yeah, the last 2, maybe 3 episodes of the second were good. But for the most part, I did not care for the second season.
Yeah.
And I watched the first one 3 times.
And so imagine that you want to get, from Future Man, you want to get back to the universe. The problem with what they couldn't do is they couldn't get back to the universe to do any, they couldn't change anything to begin with.
Right.
And they couldn't get back to the universe.
Right.
So they were having this problem getting from different points in the 5th dimension. And so what they had to do, and this is where that folding concept comes into play, how the ant is in the 2nd dimension and folds through the 3rd dimension,
right,
to get to another point in the 2nd dimension.
Right.
That's the same thing that's happening in the 5th dimension. You're folding through the 6th dimension in order to get to the 5th dimension, or to another point in the 5th dimension.
Right. So, hypothetically, the example I used earlier, where you go back in time to save your friend.
Yeah.
In that one, you would go back in time, start a new timeline, save your friend in that one, but he's still dead in the first.
Right.
So in the 6th dimension, you would just jump to another timeline where your friend was never in danger of dying.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that'd be a completely different version.
Right.
That would be happening.
Right.
And there's in Future Man, they're saying that these different timelines or universes are happening because of their direct interference.
Mm-hmm. And this actually comes into play in season 2 too.
I think it is all season 2, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's the last couple episodes that were actually good in season 2.
Yeah,
is talking about them going back in time and starting all these new timelines.
I thought it was the last 5 minutes of it.
It might have been.
Did we just fuck it up for me? Spoiler alert!
Hey, yeah.
If you haven't watched Future Man, it's your fault now. Use
that 4th dimension to go back 3 minutes and not hear
that. Fold through the 5th, remember. So, what were we saying? Yeah, what were we saying? Oh, I bet every episode of this is going to have that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What are we talking about?
What the fuck are we talking about? We were talking about the sixth dimension, folding the fifth through the sixth to get to an entirely different timeline.
Right. And yeah, to a different universe. And so that brings us to 7. So now what we were thinking about, or how we think about this is we can think about all of the possible timelines that could possibly happen, resulting in think of the timeline as beginning at the Big Bang and ending with however the universe ends up.
Right.
And every possible outcome with every different variation.
Right.
Of that.
Every single version of the multiverse.
Yeah. Now think about that all as everything that could possibly happen as its own thing, like infinity.
Right.
Like it's its own universe. It's a single point.
Right. Yeah, it brings every single possible universe into one point, I guess is the best way to
Well, okay, so this is an important distinction though. It's every single possible result of the beginning of our universe.
Right.
Under the conditions
from our Big Bang.
Under the conditions that we know now, the physical conditions, the same gravity's everywhere. Well, basically, general relativity works this way.
Right.
And so whatever could happen under these conditions did happen, is what they're saying, and that universe of every possible happening is the 7th dimension.
Right. Okay, now the 8th dimension would be every possible 7th dimension, then, right?
Yeah. So meaning
each 7th dimension starts with its own Big Bang.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, in the 8th dimension, there are an infinite number of Big Bangs to lead to an infinite number of 7th dimensions, each of those having an infinite number of versions of that Big Bang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So meaning there's like gravity doesn't work the same way in one, or just slightly different, or there's one of those points in the 7th dimension that on the full spectrum of how gravity works, and then there's also the full spectrum of how light works, or just all sorts of different variables,
and every single combination of each of those. Every single combination of this gravity with that light.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's every single 7th dimension would make that the 8th. Okay.
So what we're talking about, let's recap a little bit. So what we're talking about is every single possible universe that could occur within ours. And then
each other 7th dimension has its own starting point. And it's every possible thing that could happen from each starting point.
Right. In every different spot in that field of possibilities.
Now, in the 8th dimension, can you fold from one 7th to the other 7th? Or do you have to go to the 9th to be able to do that?
Well, we're talking about 8th.
But is 8th just recognizing all those different 7th dimensions? Or is that being able to travel from one 7th to another 7th?
It's just recognizing all those. No, the 8th. Sorry, the 8th is all of the initial conditions.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the different initial conditions.
I'm the one that's confused.
The 7th is the one with all of the possible outcomes for our initial conditions.
Yes, each Big Bang. I think that's
the 7th was our Big Bang.
Right.
Is every Big Bang.
Right. So 9th would be able to jump from Big Bang to Big Bang.
Well, hold on. Let me get back into 8th real quick. So there is the question of, well, what started the Big Bang? Everybody, I mean, that's a fundamental question that's been asked since the idea of the Big Bang, which is relatively short. But basically, what it is it was an imbalance in an energy field which started. That is a hypothesis. Nobody there. No, that's not something we can ever prove. but it was a distortion or an imbalance in an energy field, much like uh, a boiling pot of water. And think of each one of those bubbles as a universe, and
Okay.
each ones are popping up like that. And so that's one way that it helps me visualize what's happening
Nothing
physically.
into something.
Right. Well, and then there's lots of nothings into something. There's
Right.
tons of them.
Right.
And then so that's you can think that as a seventh that is the seventh dimension. The eighth dimension is there's a pot here, but there's also a pot over here, and each one of those has all of these other conditions, these other things that could possibly happen.
Is the pot the Big Bang or the bubbles the Big Bang?
The bubbles are the Big Bang.
Okay.
Each bubble is a universe. There's thousands. For our purposes, there's an infinite amount of bubbles, but there's also other pots, and that's 8 dimensions.
See, I think it makes more sense if each pot is a universe, each bubble is a version of that each pot is a Big Bang, each bubble is its own universe. And then the stovetop full of pots is the eighth.
Well, so the thing is the bubbles have to be the universe because they are the distortion in the energy field. The water is the energy field.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So each bubble is a universe. Each pot is the collection of all those universes. And then the kitchen, we fold through the 9th dimension to get to the other pot, which is that kitchen, I guess. And that's the 9th dimension.
So then the 10th would be every possible
house.
Okay.
So the world. Planet Earth.
Wow.
How does that work? Does that work for you?
I think so.
It works for me. I just came up with that one.
Yeah, it starts to lose me after about the 5th and 6th. Like,
quantum mechanics is predicted up to 24 dimensions. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is the the bubble pot house planet hypothesis.
Then you could keep going to fucking solar system, galaxy, universe.
So yeah, you could continue on with what that is, and I guess that's how quantum mechanics predicted up to 23 dimensions, because you can go down that far too. There's no reason you can go small as far as you can go large.
Would you go smaller than the first dimension?
I don't claim to be able to really visualize what they're talking about and how the shit works.
Okay.
Like, what my explanation is an infantile attempt at explaining this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bryanton, he in that hour and 10-minute video, he goes into some really great detail that's and is super, super interesting, but he's a much smarter man than I.
Yeah, he's got me beat.
Yeah. Yeah. So, fuck, yeah. I'm tired, man.
Can we get into, like, cool interdimensional shit now?
Yeah.
That I researched?
Oh, yeah.
We went a little opposite on this one. Not really opposite, but took a different stance at it.
Yeah, what happened? What's going on?
So, interdimensional travel.
Interdimensional travel.
You heard of the man from Torrid?
The what?
The man from Torrid.
I don't think. Maybe? Is that the hipster guy that had the pictures taken?
No.
No, I don't know that.
No. Have you ever heard of the country of Torrid?
No.
Neither has anybody else. But in the, I think it was in the 50s. Yeah, 54. A dude flew into Tokyo Airport with a passport from the country of Torrid, who nobody else has ever heard of.
Wow. Okay.
A legit-looking passport with stamps from other countries on it, other real countries, but nobody at the Tokyo Airport had ever heard of this country, Torrid. They pulled out a map of the world and asked the guy to point to Torrid. And he said he couldn't find it, but it should be, and he pointed to a spot there that was, I think it was in between Spain and France, a little area in between Spain and France. And he goes, it should be right there. And everybody's like, well, no, it's obviously not right there. What the fuck are you talking about? There's no Torrid. So they put the guy up in a hotel overnight while they investigated this. Put guards outside of his room, and he was up a couple floors, so it's not like he could just fucking hop out a window and disappear. They kept his passport and probably some other documents at the security at the airport. The next morning, they go into his room, and he's not there.
Ooh.
Security guards posted outside his door all night, up a couple floors, can't jump out. His passport and everything that was held at the security office at the Tokyo airport, also not there. Fucking came from nowhere, disappeared to nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's... I don't know. That's an over one. That's a weird one.
Yeah. Maybe that happened to D.B. Cooper.
Could be. They never found him either.
I heard some modern research think they got the guy, but I don't think it can pin it or something.
I had heard something a while back that somebody had admitted on their deathbed to being D.B. Cooper, but they didn't think it was legit.
Hasn't a lot of people, though?
I don't know. This was just fairly recent. It was in the last year or so. This man from Torrid thing, though, the earliest mention I could find of it was posted in 2014. So if this happened in 54, you'd think that at some point this would have come up somewhere before 2014. So take that story with a grain of salt, maybe, but I found it interesting enough.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
There's the whole Bermuda
Some
Triangle
other version of the universe, there may be a country that is named Torrid that exists between Spain and France.
There's the idea that because you thought of it, it exists in another universe. I mean, if it's a possibility, it is a possibility.
Well, in infinity, absolutely anything is a possibility.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, basically, anything you can think of is happening right now.
Or has already happened, or will happen.
Yeah. But, I mean, if you're...
I mean, there's a version where...
Everything is happening at the same time. Everything that has happened or will happen, if you're thinking fourth dimensionally, happens at the same time.
Right. But the way we perceive time, it may have already happened.
So another...
Or it may not have happened yet.
The frames at which we experience the fourth dimension are called Planck frames.
Okay.
And they're just little slices of time. We experience time as little slices. But we only see time, we only experience time as moving forward. Like we only experience it one way.
Right.
But there's no, mathematically and honestly physically, there's no reason why something couldn't experience the other way. That's what they think antimatter is a component of antimatter, is that it's moving the other way. And that's probably a reason why we see a much more abundance of our matter than there is antimatter. We don't see much antimatter at all.
I want to get into antimatter here in just a minute, too. I had another historical one.
Yeah.
That I wanted to touch on first, though. Philadelphia experiment. You heard of that one?
I've heard of that one. I don't really know too much about it.
It was some sort of a naval experiment. They were dealing with cloaking or stealth technology of some sort, or invisibility of some sort. There was a ship that they transported instantly, supposedly, from Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk.
It was from Philadelphia to Norfolk, back to Philadelphia.
Really?
Yes.
Wasn't there a movie about this?
I don't know. I'd watch the shit out of it if there is, though.
I thought there was.
The experiment had something to do with some sort of high-powered cloaking. Reports say that there was a green fog around the ship before it disappeared and after it came back. When it came back, though, there were sailors on board that during the interdimensional whatever the fuck, going from Philadelphia to North fucking back, some of the sailors had somehow gotten stuck like halfway through walls and hanging out of the floor and
Ouch.
just like molded into the ship.
That sounds uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've got a little ship on your face.
Whether this is legit or not, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of official information on this, I'll say.
You know, one thing about, I mean, we talked about the conspiracies in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the government cover that up? I mean, that's interesting.
Why would the government cover up experiments where they stuck people halfway through ships? Do you think they want the public knowing they have that technology to...
That's, okay, maybe I'm sounding a little heartless, but that's awesome-ass technology. That's fucking cool as shit. I mean, the killing...
It's awesome-ass technology
cool.
that didn't really work that well.
Yeah, but it shouldn't it shouldn't use humans to experiment on it, but it should be
the technology that the government has that we've recently found out about. Spying it. Technology, whatever.
Oh, the government
they
can
can
do whatever
listen
they want.
to you by shooting a laser beam at a window.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that, like, it. I understand how it works, but I don't understand how it works. You know what I mean?
What I think is happening is the laser beam is much like a radar measuring the airwaves, and what sound is just pressurized air in different rhythms hitting your eardrum. It's the same thing that a laser can measure that.
See, I thought they were using the laser to measure the distance from one point to the glass window, and as the glass window vibrates from the sound, those measurements on how long that beam is microscopic as those differences would be, is how they listen to you.
Maybe too. That would be measuring the same thing through a medium, but yeah. Like I said, I think. I don't know, but that's what it seems like. So it seems like that.
Right.
I'm sure I could look it up, but I didn't. I'm not going to right now. I might look it up for next time.
Yeah. So the Philadelphia experiment's an interesting one, but there's not a whole lot of...
There is a movie, 1984 movie, called the Philadelphia Experiment, about some sailors getting stuck.
Really?
Yeah. Not in walls,
and it's
but
just called the Philadelphia Experiment?
Uh-huh.
Guess what I'm watching this weekend.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a love story made for. You ever seen Starman?
I don't think so. Doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, really? Goodness, what's his name? The guy from Tron and The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
not
I
Jeff
know
Daniels.
you're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
No, Jeff Daniels is the dude from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. It's he's this accomplished stage film actor, but Jeff Daniels is known for Dumb and Dumber.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that amazing quote about America not being so great from something that I've never seen.
Oh, that series? Fuck, I remember it, but that is a great
every
series.
couple months that quote shows back, that scene shows it back up on Facebook or whatever. And every time I see it, I gotta like it and share it.
I am so glad that I am no longer on. I've cut down significantly my social media intake.
Well, you were like a 16-year-old girl before, so.
Yeah.
You took a lot of pictures of dumb shit.
I took pictures, yes. I still do.
It's not the amount of pictures you took, it's the amount of filters you used.
I still do. I have a bunch of those.
I'm not on anything other than Facebook, and you're not on Facebook anymore, so I don't have to see all that shit.
Pictures still exist, and I will start sending them to you.
Excellent. Because every once in a while I'll see a meme or whatever that I gotta send to you. I gotta text you a meme because I know you're not gonna see it otherwise.
So yeah.
Back to antimatter though.
Not matter?
CERN. Once again, we're back to CERN for some reason.
CERN. What is CERN?
I don't know what the hell it stands for. But they smash particles into other particles.
It's a super collider.
High speeds.
That goes through 4 countries in Europe. One of them is Sweden, I forget.
Was it 4 countries? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know it's a big fucking circle. But yeah, they may be the cause of some multiverse stuff. Mandela effect specifically. I've heard multiple people blame the Mandela effect on CERN.
Well, so that might have. There's any number of things that could have caused the shift into something, into another experience. But so the problem with that is that we're not able to manipulate. Well, maybe that's the new technology that's able to manipulate us from being able to experience 4 dimensions and being able to go experience a 5th dimension. Maybe, I don't know.
While we're on the topic of antimatter, I took a screenshot of this. I want you to be the one to read it and say what the hell we're looking at, though.
So it looks like a Google map.
It is
of a country that does not speak English, but anyway, I see a flag that says Antimatter Factory CERN next to another flag that says CERN.
It's like the CERN campus or whatever you want to call it.
There's a few other spattering of things. Yeah.
Oh yeah. CERN, this large hadron collider place that's been blamed for multiverse problems, has a antimatter factory apparently. And if you want to jump on Google Maps right now, just type in CERN on Google Maps, and it is slightly to the left. So,
yeah. Just like how I hang.
You too. Interesting.
So I don't know. I'm not sure if it's innocuous or not, but I don't know. I like. I'm a fan of progress for progress's sake.
See, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I like something new.
Yeah.
And shiny.
Got some stats on antimatter, and this is all hypotheticals. I don't think they actually have antimatter. Like, can do things with I don't know how I want to describe this. Antimatter is just still theoretical, I think. I don't think they've... Like, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson I heard describe that antimatter should be better called, like, phantom gravity, because we don't know what the fuck it is, but it has a gravitational pull. And most of everything is nothing, which is antimatter. Like, as far as the universe goes, there's more nothing than there is something in the universe.
That's... Yes. You mean the space in between some things?
No, there's supposed to be more antimatter than matter in the universe.
Okay.
There's more nothing than something.
So, nothing isn't necessarily antimatter.
Phantom gravity. I like that term better than antimatter, personally.
But still, nothing is not necessarily that. Nothing just could mean...
It's something other than its gravitational pull that is completely invisible.
So are you talking about, like, dark matter? Dark energy?
I don't know.
I think that's what you're talking about, and...
Am I talking about dark matter, not antimatter?
Yes, I think so.
Am I crossing up two different things?
We don't know what dark matter is. It's something that does is what you're talking about. That
maybe I'm thinking about this completely
acts
wrong.
that way. But it could be antimatter. It could be your grandma's panties. We have no idea what it is. And I mean yours, Scott, specifically your grandma's panties. It could be that.
Mother's side or grandmother's side?
Yes.
Or mother's side or father's side? God damn, am I.
Mothers or grandmothers?
So, 1 milligram of antimatter has 1,000 times the energy of the bombs we dropped on Japan.
I'm where did you get that?
I think that one came from Wikipedia. I should really write this shit down. And supposedly, a piece of antimatter the size of a grain of rice would have the equivalent of 30,000 Hiroshima bombs.
That seems.
Now that I read that, I'm pretty sure I was talking about dark matter and
Yeah.
not antimatter.
So the thing about antimatter is, well, hold on. I need to look up more.
Well, you do that. I'm gonna smoke a little more of this bowl.
Yeah,
I'm clearly too
bowl.
high already.
So I don't think the output of energy overcomes the I don't know. So this is saying it does when antimatter comes into contact with actual matter, it does put out a lot of energy, but it's inefficient. It takes a lot of energy to make it. It apparently has been made.
Scrolling through my history here, see if maybe I can stumble across that again.
So, but I think the underlying lesson is it basically annihilates all of the energy and matter that it uses to create and all. It's zero sum. It equals out. It creates and destroys as much energy and matter as it comes into contact with. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
I was for sure talking about dark matter earlier.
Yeah, I think you were.
So, you guys can just ignore that little rant I went on.
Okay. Yeah, no, CERN is not making dark matter.
Nope, for sure not making dark matter.
Yeah,
they're making antimatter.
That's a different
I
thing.
completely got my matters mixed up.
But if they could make dark matter, that'd be fucking awesome. Like, I want to know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it in my search history. I have no idea what the fuck I was getting my energy stats from.
Oh, well, I don't dare go through my search history. It scares even me.
Dude, incognito mode.
Where am I hiding from? The government fucking knows it.
They're watching you through your phone camera jerking off at it.
I mean, they can if they want, I guess.
They literally can if they want.
Yeah. So, anyway. Scott. Mr. Shackleford.
One other
theory
I had come across while looking at interdimensional.
Are these theories or hypotheses?
I don't know. They're testable. They're not really testable, I guess.
I think by definition they're hypotheses.
Yeah, I think you're right. The use of psychedelic drugs to get through different dimensions.
Okay.
You're more experienced with psychedelics than I am.
I've done it a bunch.
Yep. I've only done shrooms once.
Ah.
Good time.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do it again. 10 out of 10.
Shrooms? Yes.
But yeah, there's been some studies, some experiments done. Well, I guess if they did experiments on them, they're theories then. But you can't really prove them. I don't know. Anyways, they've done some studies with psilocybin and LSD and DMT. Both group experiments where...
Okay, hold on. So psilocybin is what you get from mushrooms.
Right, magic mushrooms.
LSD is a lysergic acid, which is what you get from... it's acid.
Right.
And DMT comes from the
Dimethyl I don't know.
Tryptophan or something. Not tryptophan,
No.
but yeah. But anyway, it comes from a cactus. It's, I want to say, Oaxaca keeps on coming to my head, but it's not Oaxaca. It's, I'm looking it up. Cactus that
Peyote?
makes, it's not peyote. Yeah.
Is peyote a cactus or a flower? Maybe it's cactus flower. I don't fucking know. Everything I know about peyote I learned from Young Guns.
San Pedro. The San Pedro cactus. That's not what I was thinking of, though. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead. Extra-dimensional stuff from tripping.
Guy Paul Stamets, I think his name is.
Oh, I've heard of that guy.
He's a mycologist, which is a dude who studies fungi.
Mushroom doctor.
Yep. He's done experiments with groups of people.
Would you say that Dr. Stamets is a fun guy?
He may be. I've never met the guy. But he's done experiments where people were able to accurately make predictions while tripping on psilocybin.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Psilocybin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Terrace McKenna, ethnobiologist, which is a dude who studies how people use plants around the world. Different cultures use different plants for different medicines or whatever, right?
Okay, yeah, they do.
He did a lot of work with psilocybin, actually from here in Colorado.
Good old Loveland. Well, we're in Loveland.
Paonia, maybe? About 150 miles straight west of Denver, anyways.
Okay.
Is
that in the mountains? Or is that off the other side?
When I looked at it on a map, it looked like he was probably on the western slope.
Okay.
So, like one county this side of Nevada.
Okay.
Where was I at? Yeah, he came up with the stoned ape theory. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh.
That theory, there's a time in human history, maybe like 1 million years or something like that. Really short. No, couldn't have been 1 million. Like 100,000. A short period of time in evolution, anyways, where the human brain basically doubled in size.
Yep. I'm familiar.
And
so I've been told. He
hypothesizes that the reason it did that is because of things like psilocybin and cannabis.
Really?
He hypothesized that may be what led to more intricate communications, speeches, and whatever. Opens up your... Literally expanded the mind.
So the fact that we are smoking weed as we are communicating will just benefit our media presence?
Possibly.
Yay! Higher minds.
Along about the same time is when we started cooking our meat, though. And cooking meat releases way more nutritional value than eating it raw.
And it's something you want to do when you're stoned.
Cooking your meat?
Cooking anything.
Yeah. See, I like crunchy shit. I'm like a Fritos kind of guy.
Well, they fried up some potatoes or some shit.
They have?
Anyway.
Potatoes? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you gotta take into... We figured out how to cook shit at about the same time that our brain started to expand, too. But it's an interesting theory, at least. Which would somewhat explain why we have receptors in our brain and our body that pick up the cannabinoids.
CBD.
That's always been
cannabidiol.
Interesting to me that we have things built into our bodies that specifically are for one type of plant.
And is fucking illegal.
Right.
The
man. With psilocybin, at least, it's been proven to have a beneficial effect on your visual acuity in small doses.
Really? I I've never seemed to see better ever.
It's more like a microdosing. You can increase your visual acuity. And this is done to a point
I'm not brave
that
enough to
they'll
do
use
that.
it in some hunting dogs. They'll microdose hunting dogs to make their eyesight more accurate.
Who
I'll
does
say.
that? It sounds like they could be charged with animal abuse.
I think it was somewhere European is where they were doing this at, like Mongolia or whatever. Like, this is a while back. They were feeding dogs microdosing psilocybin to increase their eyesight to be better hunting dogs.
Well, damn. That sounds...
So if it can do that with your physical eyesight, maybe it can open your quote-unquote third eye.
I mean, I've had some weird experiences. Not so much on psilocybin, but DMT that was fucking way out there. Even acid was weirder than... I don't know, acid wasn't all that bad, though. Well, it was trippy, of course, but I didn't... I don't know. It wasn't as dramatic as DMT.
Yeah.
Yeah, not nearly.
Heard good things about DMT.
So DMT is not a party drug. I wouldn't party with it.
Right.
It takes a bit of mental fortitude. I mean, I don't think you'd have a problem with it. That's not what I think. It's just
You gotta be in the right head state for it.
Yeah. I don't think it's for everybody at any time. But the guy who gave it to me said the universe gives it to you when you are supposed to have it. So I don't know. I am a skeptic, but I do believe in a sense of passive universal correcting, or like things that come to you when they should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Things work out in the end, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Things work out in the end. Smoke weed. Be friends. Be good to each other.
I had a thought and I lost it.
Well, you are stoned.
Mm-hmm. Something to do with DMT, maybe.
Well,
I don't know. I'm not going to remember that movie, and I'm not going to remember what the fuck I was just thinking about.
that movie. One of those 6 people to tell us.
Yeah.
But anyway, until next time, where can you find us?
We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Instagram and Twitter. Where?
Search Higher Minds and or Higher Minds Podcast.
Higher Minds and Higher Minds Podcast. We're also on SoundCloud.
We are.
That's Higher Minds, all one word.
Yep.
We've got 1 episode up right now. We'll have another one up very shortly, and then we'll have another one up a week after that. That would be this one that we're recording now.
Yeah, the goal is to have 1 a week, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, excellent.
Well,
Deuces.
talk to you later. Deuces.